Everyone, Namaskaram. Welcome to this special edition of Yoga Samvad, dialogues on yoga as a part of the peace and sustainability through yoga, an initiative by Ritambhara Ashram. Ritambhara is a registered trust offering alternate way of engaging with life, rooted to Indian tradition and encompassing contemporary practices to help individuals live a rasatmik life. Yoga Samvad, brought to you by Ritambhara, is a dialogue series featuring eminent experts and from diverse fields engaging in insightful dialogues on yoga. In these dialogues, we invite you to join us on an exploration of peace and sustainability through yoga using the framework of Saptaswara. Now, what is Saptaswara? Saptaswara is a framework designed by Sri Raghu Anantanarayanan and Srimati Sashikala Anant, inspired by the ideas that they got from Yoga Sutras, Natya Shastra, and Vastu Shilpa Shastra. As we start this enriching evening, we have two students from Sita Lakshmi Gurukulam, run by our guest Dr. Rangan to offer an invocation on behalf of all of us who have joined here this evening. We call upon Ms. Sahana and Srinidhi to offer the invocation.
तथागतां तां व्यतितामनिन्दितां जपेतहर्षां परिदीनमानसाम् शुभानिमित्तानि शुभानि वेजिरे नरं श्रिया जुष्टमिवोपजीविनः तस्याशुभं वामरालपक्ष्म राजीवृतं कृष्णविशालशुक्लम् प्रास्पन्दतैकम् नयनं सुकेशः निहीनाहतं पद्ममिवाभिताम्रम् स्थावीतशोका व्यपनीततन्द्री शान्तज्वरा हर्षविवृद्धसत्त्वा अशोभधार्या वदनेन शुक्ले सीतांशुना रात्रिरिवोदिते
Thank you, Ms. Sahana and Srinidhi. Energizing as we start. In this edition of Yoga Samvad, we are excited to host Dr. Rangan, founder of Webulim Trust, in a dialogue with Sri Raghu Anantanarayanan and Ajay Vishwanath, member of Ritambhara Mandala. The topic today is Yoga in Ramayana. For the next 1.5 hours, we're going to dive deep into the subject Yoga in Ramayana with Dr. Rangan speaking to us on the subject, and then we'll transition into a dialogue between the guest and the two panelists, and towards the end we'll open the floor for questions from participants. Before we go to the questions from participants, we'll have two major announcements to make, so kindly tune in for that. Before we start, I have a huge responsibility because we have three distinguished people that I need to introduce today. I'll start with our guest, Dr. R. Rangan, fondly called as Rangaji, a man of wisdom and simplicity. And he's a Vedic scholar, having studied and mastered the Vedas, Vedic Sanskrit, Upanishads, and several Indic epics. Sri Ranganji has a master's degree of management from SIMS Pune and has been awarded Yoga Vidya Varidhi, a doctoral degree in yoga from S. Vyasa, Bangalore. Much early in life, under the tutelage of masters and philosophers, he has studied Advaita, Dvaita, Visishtadvaita, Vyakarana, Sahitya, and Bhakti Shastra. In his spiritual journey, I was actually quite, overwhelmed to look at this list. He has been inspired by a lot of philosophers, starting from his father, Sri Krishna Premi Swamigal, Sri Shankara Bhagavad Sri Ramanuja, Sri Madhvacharya, Sri Aurobindo, Sri Ramakrishna Paramahamsa, Sri Ramana Maharshi, and several other great philosophers and eminent personalities, and has studied them and their works intensely. Now coming to his works. Between the age of 16 and 28, I repeat 16 and 28, Sri Rangaji not only mastered most of the shlokas from Ramayana and had memorized all the 8 Upanishads, he also translated Sri Shankara Bhashyam of Brahma Sutras in Tamil. He also wrote several thousands of research articles on Ramayana, Mahabharata, Vedas, Vedanta, and Yoga. He has written a commentary on Bhagavad Gita, synthesizing the commentaries of Sri Shankara, Ramanuja, and Madhvacharya. And he's also written a commentary on Brahma Sutra in Sanskrit. Of course, he has authored several books related to insights in Vedas, Dharma, and Ramayana. Sri Rangaji is a founder of Webulim, which is Web of Life Makers, which spreads the value of Vedas and usage of Vedic values in everyday life. He conducts Vedic workshops in India and abroad. He has established 2 ashrams, one in Bangalore called Mithila, and another one in Ayodhya called Sita Vallabh Kunj. He runs 3 Gurukulas, one for boys in Vedic studies and academic studies called Shruturama Gurukulam, one specifically for girls in academic and Indic studies called Sita Lakshmi Gurukulam. 2 of those students only gave us this invocation today. He also runs a Gurukulam called Vidyavati Gurukulam in Ayodhya. Even as a youngster, Sri Ranganji was drawn to the life of Sri Rama amongst all other epics and characters that he had studied. Ever since, he is in search of the Rama in him and has challenged himself to live a life as dharmic as what Rama lived. He is an expert Upanyasaka, and I have been fortunate to listen to many Upanyasam of Sri Rangaji. And he narrates the stories of Ramayana, Mahabharata, and Srimad Bhagavatam with absolute ease. Absolute ease. He is also a repository of stories of several spiritual gurus and sons in Bhakti Marga. With, when he talks about these stories and epics, he brings about historic meanings of these epics and its applicability to our lives. He has been deservingly conferred with the title Rama Kathamrita Varshi by G.R. Swamigal of Tirkovilur for his unique and incomparable rendition style. It took a while for me to make it such a small introduction. I had to really cut off quite a bit to keep time for everybody to listen to Sri Rangaji. So I will now move on to the panelists, Sri Raghu Anantanarayanan and Ajay Vishwanath. Raghu Anantanarayanan, fondly called as Raghu, when in very difficult phases in his life, has been mentored by 3 extraordinary teachers, namely J. Krishnamurti ji, Yogacharya Krishnamacharya, and Sri Pulin K. Garg. He was intimately involved with them for more than a decade in his late 20s. This engagement not only transformed him, it evoked from him his service orientation and his sadhana. His works revolves around helping individuals, groups, and organizations discover their dharma and become the best they can be. This, he believes, aligns with his own personal sadhana. Formerly trained as an engineer with a master's in biomedical engineering from IIT Madras, he has been an immersive involvement in questions of human life. In academic areas, He's been a co-founder of Sumedha's Academy of Human Context since 1995 and of the Barefoot Academy of Governance with TISS since 2012. As a director of Flame Tower Nowhere Private Limited, Raghu spans the commercial world of consulting by helping and redesigning the client organization for greater alignment and synergy. Raghu has authored several books, a few of them being Learning Through Yoga, The Totally Aligned Organization, Leadership Dharma, Arjuna the Timeless Metaphor, and he has also co authored a book called Organizational Development and Alignment, the Tenskriti Mandala, along with Gagandeep Singh. Currently, his wife Sashi and he, donning the roles of chief mentors and space anchors in Ritambhara, are working on nurturing people on a sacred quest situated in the beautiful Nilgiris. It's a lovely ashram there. You're welcome to Nilgiris Ritambhara ashram when you can. Ajay Vishwanath is an MBA from Bangalore University and has over 20 years of experience across academics and L&D domains. He is an ICF certified coach practitioner and is currently pursuing certification for being a life coach with Tao Leadership Academy. The highlight of his career being a 12-year long stint with Pegasus, which helped him build proficiency in design and delivery of customized experiential learning program in leading Indian and global corporates. Ajay has anchored over 450 programs which was attended by more than 10,000 people. 450 programs with more than 10,000 people, to be noted. He is currently associated with Quinergy as a senior consultant. Ajay, a student of Srimati Lalita Srinivasan, Nupura, Bangalore, is an ace Bharatanatyam dancer in Mysore Bani. For over 2 decades, he's been a Bharatanatyam dancer. He's performed both in India and abroad in UK and US. He's also a Doordarshan dancer. He's co-founded an organization called Shiri, which is focused on neo-traditional dance since 2006. He's pursuing his process work through Sumedhas as an intern, and his inner work is being nurtured at Ritambhara. Ajay currently, incidentally, anchors Ramayana exploration program at Ritambhara. Welcome to the guest today and the panelists. Without much ado, I'll leave the floor to Dr. Rangan to talk to us and tell us more about yoga in Ramayana.
ज्ञानेन आकाशकल्पेन धर्मान् गगनोपमान् ज्ञेया भेदेन सम्बुद्धः तं वन्दे द्विपदाम्बरम्. Yoga in Ramayana. It is an ocean-like subject. What I thought is, instead of having a bird's eye view of the whole epic and its connection to yoga, let us fathom an event from the epic and explore the various yogic elements, yogic concepts and principles found in that event. The second chapter of Ramayana. It is told that Maharshi Valmiki created the epic Ramayana being in yoga. Tatah pashyati dharmatma tatsarvam yogamastitaha pura yattatra nirvrittam panau amalakam yathaya. Tatah pashyati dharmatma. Maharshi Valmiki a very great Dharmatma, saw the events of the whole epic being in yoga. Here the word saw is very important. Seeing. Perhaps the seeing is connected to yoga. Okay. While aswadana, tasting, is connected to bhakti. Bhagavatam starts with Pibata Bhagavatam. Bhagavatam is a bhakti grantha which starts with tasting the rasa of Bhagavata. Here Ramayana starts with seeing. Raghuvara Charitam Muni Pranitam Dasha Shirasascha Vadham Nishamayadhvam. Nishamayadhvam. Maharshi Valmiki saw the events of the epic, and he is also suggesting us to see the epic. O connoisseurs, may you all see the epic in front of you. Dasha Shirasascha Vadam Nishamana. Nishama is to see. Being in yoga, Maharshi Valmiki saw this. What is this yoga? We all know, being the aspirants of yoga, yogaha chitta vritti nirodhaha. Stopping the thoughts is yoga. Stopping the thoughts of psyche is yoga. By stopping thoughts, next sutra, tada drashtu swarupe avasthanam. We get established in our own core, our own swarupa. Those are all fine. What is core? What is swarupa? This looks absurd. For this, Patanjali gives another sutra where he beautifully explains chitta vritti nirodha as chitta prasadana. Chitta vritti nirodha is nothing but chitta prasadana. The sutra, Maitri Karuna Mudita Upekshanam Sukha Dukkha Punya Punya Vishayanam Bhavanataha Chitta Prasadanam. So stoppage of the thoughts of our psyche is nothing but tranquility of mind. Tranquility found in our heart. So, if Maharshi Valmiki says that he created the epic being in yoga, it means he created the epic being in tranquility, being in peace. Yoga is a science of peace. Yoga is an art of peace. So, being in peace, Maharshi Valmiki created the epic. William Wordsworth says, poetry is recollected in tranquility. It's a very, very nice expression. He also talks about seeing into the life of things in his words, in a book called Prelude. He says, seeing into the life of things. Let us explore what is this, seeing into the life of things. Before going into it, let us see what is this sutra, Maitri, Karuna, Mudita, Upekshana. Patanjali talks about Chitta Prasadana, which is Chitta Vritti Nirodha, this tranquility of mind or peace of mind. He is prescribing various methods for this peace of mind. In fact, all these methods too are called as yoga. Okay? Not only the goal, the methods also are taken to be yoga. Manah Prashamana Upayaha Yogaha. Okay, this is from Yoga Vasishta. Manah Prashamana Upaya. Any upaya, any method to calm the mind, not only The calmness of mind is yoga. Any method to calm the mind also is yoga. In that case, all these things are coming: asana, pranayama, dharana, dhyana, even kriya, various kriyas, kapalabhati, so on and so forth, yamas and niyamas. All these things are coming as methods to calm the mind. Here Patanjali wonderfully describes a beautiful method. This is a behavioral method. Maitri, Karuna, Mudita, Upekshanam. Joys and miseries are very common in our life. Patanjali here explains how to respond to joys and miseries. On seeing punya and apunya, on seeing joy and misery, how are we going to respond? If we see joy somewhere, if we see somebody enjoying something, we also have to be happy. Patanjali says, let us also be happy. Let us enjoy others' joys. While we see children playing, we also can be happy. This commonly we see with many people. While we see some people sitting around and laughing by chit-chatting, we also can be happy on seeing them. While we see animals and birds rejoicing, we also can be happy. By this happiness, one can get chitta prasadana, calmness of mind. Next, on seeing misery in some place, if somebody is sad, on seeing that, we also feel sad. This is called as empathy. This empathy also can lead us to the calmness of mind. Our sweetest songs are of melancholy, says a great poet, Shelley. So this is melancholy. On seeing somebody's misery, our heart also melts. This empathy can lead us to the calmness of mind. Third one, on seeing somebody virtuous, somebody's punya deeds, somebody's virtues, we become happy. Mudita to punya, we become happy. That happiness also can lead us to tranquility. The fourth kind of responding is told here. On seeing some sin or evil happening in front of me, my mind doesn't get disturbed and I remain indifferent. My mind remains indifferent to it. This is upeksha to it. I'm not getting a special interest towards that sin or evil happening there. By this also chitta prasadana or peace of mind can happen. This is the meaning of this sutra. Maitri, Karuna, Mudita Upekshana, Sukha Dukkha, Punya Punya Vishayana, Bhavanataha, Chitta Prasadanam. The second chapter of Ramayana appears as if as the explanation of this sutra. Maharishi Valmiki, with his disciple Bharadwaja, walks in solitude in the woods. He comes to the beautiful river Tamasa. He enjoys the nature. He goes into the deeper and deeper layers of silence, and he sees the crystal clear water of the river Tamasa. Tamas means darkness. This river is black in color, and black is always beautiful. Therefore, this river is called as Tamasa. This river also is dark because it's covered by the trees, bushes. He's experiencing that silence in that river. He lost himself. He says to his disciple, Akardamamidam tirtham Bharadwaj Nishamaya Ramaniyam Prasannambu Sanmanushya Yatha Sanmanushya Yatha Akardamam Idam Tirtham. My dear Bharadwaja, this water is crystal clear. See this water. This water resembles the purity of the heart of the great souls, good souls. Sanmanushya Manoyatha. Here is a beautiful comparison. Generally, what we think, while we describe a concept, it has to be compared with a concrete thing in the world. Simile has to be in this way. But here Maharshi Valmiki is making it in an ulta way. Here we see a concrete water is compared with a concept, an abstract thing. The abstract thing is the purity of the heart of the good souls. Water is in front of us. This water is compared with the conceptual heart of Sanmanushya Manoyata, good souls. This is a very interesting kind of literature. Here Maharshi Valmiki follows the Vedic style. Veda always describe the concrete things as the symbols or archetypes of some deeper principle. In fact, this also is from the Veda. Water is always taken to be the symbol of the fundamental energy of our heart, apaha, in the Vedic literature. So here also Maharshi Valmiki says this resembles the purity of heart. This is a very unique simile. By showing some concept behind any concrete thing, Veda tries to take us from the concrete objects to the conceptual things. This is the sublimity of literature. That literature can be called a sublime, which can sublimate our mind, sublimate our heart, which can elevate us. Vedas always do that. It shows a lotus, and lotus is the symbol of heart. Heart blossoms petal by petal. Narayana Sutta is talking about it. Hridaya Pundarikam. In the same way here, Maharshi Valmiki takes water to be the purity of heart. Then he takes bath in that water. He is coming back. On the way, he sees a couple playing love games. A croucha bird. Two crouchas are playing each other. He croucha and she croucha. On seeing that, Maharshi Valmiki stands there and enjoys it. This is Patanjali's Maitri towards Sukha. I am recalling that sutra, Maitri, Karuna, Mudita, Upekshana, Sukha Dukkha Bhavanatah. This is a figure of speech. It's called as Yatha Sankhya Alankara. Because 4 words are there first in the first line, in the second line, 4 more words are there. The first word is matching with the first word of the first line is matching with the first word of the second line. Second word of the first line is matching with the second word of the second line. This is Yatha Sankhya Alankara of Patanjali. Even Patanjali's Yoga Sutra has many figures of speech. Here, Maitri. Maitri has to be fixed with Sukha. So, if we see some persons enjoying something, we can stand there and enjoy it. Then only rasa is created. Rasa, this is called as rasa. I don't know what it can be called in English. There is something called empathy in English. It's a beautiful word. If somebody is sad, if I also feel for him, it's empathy. If I am enjoying others' joy, I don't know what word is there to express this in English. If I am suffering others' sufferings, that is empathy. I enjoy others' joy, I don't have word for that. Here Maharshi Valmiki does it. He enjoys the love sport of this Kraucha birds, Maitri towards Sukha. At that time, a rasa bhanga is happening. Somebody is breaking the rasa of Maharshi Valmiki. Somebody comes there, hunts that bird. Tamrasirshena mattena patrina sahitena vai. Mattena, that male, that he Kraucha is intoxicated of love. And when Kraucha bird gets intoxicated with love, its head becomes reddish. Okay. So based on this botany, is it botany or another one? Zoology, sorry. Based on this zoology, here a commentator explains why this bird is described as Tamrasirsha. Head is red in color. Okay, head is red in color. It's because as the bird is intoxicated of love, Valmiki describes this bird as red-headed one. While this he bird is playing in this way, at the time some hunter comes and hunts that bird, shoots an arrow, the he bird is falling down, and the he bird starts to throb. This she bird is crying. Tam shonita paritangam Veshtamanam mahitale Bharyatu nihatam drishtva Rurava karunam giram Rurava karunam giram tam Shonita paritangam. Blood is oozing from the body of this very he Kraucha. Veshtamanam, he Kraucha is throbbing. Bharya tu nihatam drishtva. On seeing this throbbing he Kraucha, Shri Kraucha starts to cry. Rurava, in a pathetic way, Karunam Giram. Rurava Karunam Giram. Who is crying? Here Maharshi Valmiki puts a word very, very interesting. Bharya tu nihatam društva rurava karunam giram. Bharya, the wife of he Krauncha, starts to cry. He is giving the status of wife because these Krauncha birds practice monogamy in general. Therefore, he is not telling that she is a she Krauncha or beloved or girlfriend of that he Krauncha. If she misses this he Krauncha, she will not join with any other he Krauncha in her life. Therefore, Valmiki sees that she Krauncha as the wife. Bharya tu nihatam društva. The wife, Shri Kraucha, is crying on seeing this. Tatha tu tam dijam društva nishadena nipatitam ऋषेः धर्मात्मनः तस्य कारुण्यं समपद्यते कारुण्यं समपद्यते तथा तु तं द्विजं दृष्ट्वा. On seeing that bird, from the depth of the heart of this rishi, karunya started to flow. Karunya is empathy. This is the second word of Patanjali, Maitri, Karuna. On seeing the joy of Kraunchas, Maharshi Valmiki became happy. That's the first one. By that he is getting Chitta Prasadanam, tranquility of heart, from which the epic is going to come. And in the next thing, in the same chapter, on seeing the suffering of this she Krauncha, the wife of he Krauncha, Maharshi Valmiki's heart is melting. Here Valmiki brings the dimension Karunya, Karunyam Samapadyata. And here he also uses the word Rishi. Karunya came from the depth of the heart of the Rishi. For your information, the word Rishi means seer. Yes, in the Vedic language, in Chandasa language, you may be aware of a great Rishi called Yaska, who wrote the etymology of the Vedic literature. He says Rishi is seer, drashta, Rishi is drashta. And accidentally, the word kavi also means seer. The literal meaning of kavi is seer. Krantadarshi, one who sees beyond. Now you connect this with William Wordsworth's expression, seeing into the life of the things. Seeing into the life, Wordsworth says this. And he defines poetry in that way. One cannot become a poet. One may become a verse maker. That's a different thing. One cannot create a sublime literature without seeing, without having an eye to internalize, without having insight. Therefore, this powerful word comes and falls in this verse, that is getting fixed in this word, in this verse, Rishehe Dharmatmanaha Tasya. This dharmic Rishi, what is this dharma here? Again, here in this context, dharma is the expansion through which one gets empathy. Okay, I can understand my own troubles only. I can understand my own suffering only. This is something different. In this context, dharma is the expansion through which I start to understand others. This is empathy. This is dharma. Rishehe dharmatmanaha tasye karunyam samabadhyate. That karunya started to flow from the heart of this great seer. And you know, Anandavardhana, a great Kashmiri critic. He is a Samskrita Sahityakara, a well-known critic among Sanskrit scholars. And he wrote a book called Dhunyaloka. Dhunyaloka means exploring the tone of the literature. Many people understand that an ideal literature is that which is filled with lot of figures of speech. But Anandavardhana takes a different route. A literature may have, a masterpiece may have lot of figures of speech, but if it doesn't have the tone, it is not a sublime literature, he says. And later they took it in English literature too. Before a century, the idea of tone was not there in English literature. T.S. Eliot took this idea of tone from our Dhunyaloka, our Anandavardhana, this Kashmiri critic. This Dhunyalokakara, this person, this Anandavardhana says, Kavyasya atma sayevarthaha tatha chadikavehe pura krauchadvandva viyogathaha shokaha shlokatvam shokaha shlokatvam agataha. He says, tone is the soul of a kavya. The first kavi of the world, Adikavehe Pura, long ago, long ago, when the world was yet young. The first kavi of the world saw the nature, and there the love sport of two Kraunchas, and from the depth of his heart, melancholy dawned, melancholy arise, and shokaha shlokattamagataha, that melancholy got manifested in the form of a poem. Shoka became shloka. Shoka became shloka. Shokaha shlokattam agataha. What is the lakshana of a kavya? What is kavya? If you go to the etymological meaning, kavi means krantadarshi. Kavi means seer. Kavya means insight. That's all. But we have various kavyas in the world. So how to explain all these things? It's well known among Sanskrit scholars. They say several kavya lakshanas. If there is a kavya, it should have nagara varnana, vana varnana, ritu varnana, description of seasons, description of cities, descriptions of forest. It should have a lot of figures of speech. So they are going on telling. Sanskrit students read all these things. But Anandavardhana says these are all not kavya lakshanas. If something has all these things, can you call it as a kavya? Hindu paper has all these things. Indian Express has all these things. Veerya Rasam comes, somebody kills somebody, that also is recorded in newspaper. And some description of some city is also there. Something about weather is also there. Can it be called as kavya? Kavya, kavyasya arthaha, kavyasya atma sayevarthaha. Here, this great man, Anandavardhana says, Santi siddha rasa prakhya yecha Ramayana Kathasraya natairyojya swecha rasa virodhini Katha shariram उत्पाद्य वस्तु कार्यं तथा तथा यथा रसमयं सर्वं एवैतत् प्रतिभासते. यदि रस अननुगुणां स्थितिं पश्येत् तां भक्त्वापि स्वतन्त्रतया रसानुगुणं कथान्तरम् उत्पादयेत्. If a book has to be called as kavya, it should have a rasa as its main theme. And this whole book has to get resonated with that theme. However beautiful the things, the digressions may appear in front of a kavi, he has to ignore all of them and should concentrate only on the theme. Then it becomes a kavya. That's why Ramayana is called as a kavya. What's the theme of Ramayana? Empathy. Karunyam becomes the theme of Ramayana. After getting this Karunyam from the depth of heart, Maharshi Valmiki, he creates his first shloka. We all know that shloka, those who are familiar with Ramayana. Manishad pratishthantvam agamaha shashwati samaha यत्रांच मिथुनादेकं avadhihi kamamohitam. I need not go into the detail of this shloka because if I go, it will take some half an hour. Therefore, I'm not going into the detail. But for us, what is important here is this. At the end of this chapter, there is one shloka. Krishnam Ramayanam Kavyam Idrushaihi Karavanyaham Idrushaihi Karavanyaham. By the same style, may create all shlokas of the epic. Valmiki resolves. By which style? What is the meaning of this shloka? By what style? By the same style. By what style? Commentators are not catching the point. Some commentators explain the first shloka is in Anushtup meter. In the same meter, I will create the whole epic. I don't think that this is the meaning of this shloka. This is the purport of this shloka. The shloka has some other purport. Krishnam Ramayanam Kavyam Idrushaihi Karavanyaham. Idrushaihi means Idrushaihi Bhavaihi Karavanyaham. The melancholy, the empathy, Karunya, which emerged from the melted heart of Maharshi Valmiki, through which the first shloka came. On seeing this, Maharshi Valmiki understands, in this same way, by resonating to this Karunya, may create all the shlokas. Being in this empathy, going into the depth of my heart, being in this empathy, I will create the whole of the epic so that the connoisseurs of this epic will enjoy the epic by this empathy. How can you enjoy the empathy? Is it possible? Yes, it's possible. Ramayana is the combination of joy and empathy. That's why epic is sustaining up to our time. It is not just a tragedy. It is not just a story of suffering. It's also a story of virtues. In some other place in Ayodhya Kanda, Maharshi Valmiki is bringing a beautiful aspect of Ramayana. While Rama is not coming back to Ayodhya holding the truthfulness, Valmiki says, the subjects of Ayodhya, the people of Ayodhya, they all see the lotus face of Rama. Rama is stubborn. Rama is stubborn and he is not shaken. Himalayas will not be shaken by the cyclone. Sthiraha Sudarme Himavaniva is like that. There Valmiki says, Nayati Ayodhyamiti Dukhito Bhavat Sthira Pratigyatvam Avekshya Harshitaha Nayati Ayodhyam iti Dukhito Bhavat. Rama is not coming back to Ayodhya. Thinking this, the people became sad. Sthira Pratigyatvam Avekshya Harshitaha. On seeing the steadfastness of Rama, on seeing the firmness of Rama in his principle, truth, Rama's philosophy is not a philosophy of convenience. We all know that. On seeing his sthiratva, his firmness in truthfulness, the same people who are sad are also happy. They enjoy the steadfastness of Rama. They also suffer from the separation of Rama. This condition of mind in which you experience joy and suffering together, this is a kind of rasa. The joy is derived from the virtues of Rama, and the compassion, the empathy is derived from the suffering of Rama. For this kind of rasa, people are still running after Ramayana and Ramachandra. Okay, this is the rasa which Valmiki is bringing throughout the epic. Nayati Ayodhyamiti Dukhito Bhavat Sthira Pratigyatvam Avekshya Harshitaha. This is the rasa. This is the rasa which Valmiki is having in his heart and pouring to us, pouring to the depth of our heart. And this dimension, now what happens? Let me finish the story. He is coming to his ashrama. While coming to the ashrama, he saw Brahmadeva coming there, and he is paying homage to Brahmadeva, hospitality, offering arghya, padya, so on and so forth. Though Brahmadeva is in front of Maharshi Valmiki's mind is lingering with that melancholy. Shochaneva muhu kraunchi upashlokamimam punaha jagau antargatamanaha Bhutva shokaparayanah Bhutva shokaparayanah Shochaneva. Still, his heart doesn't lose empathy. He is in the remembrance of that she croucher, as if he is empathizing his daughter. Shochaneva muhu kraunchim. And he is singing that upashloka mimam punaha. How he sings? Antargata mana. Internally he sings. I'm remembered of this expression of John Keats. Heard melodies are sweet, those unheard are sweeter. Unheard melody, what is that? Internal singing. He must be humming. I don't know what is this internal singing. Brahma is in front, but he is internally singing. Jagau antargata mana bhutva shokapara. He is internally singing that first song. What's that? Manishada pratishtantam. That song. On seeing this Valmiki, Brahma says, again, what is Brahma? I'm not asking who is Brahma. What is Brahma? Shastrakaras know. He is the presiding deity of Mahat Tattva. What is Mahat Tattva? Swachhattam, Avikarittam, Shantattam iti Chetasaha. Swachatva, clarity. Avikarittam, immutability. Shantatvam, peace. Peace amsha, clarity amsha, and immutable amsha of Prakriti is Mahatattva. Okay, Brahma is the presiding deity of that. You can connect now. Maharshi Valmiki is now in Mahatattva. And here Brahma says to Valmiki, my dear Valmiki, because of me, Saraswati is flowing in your heart, and from your heart to the world through your mouth. Machanda devate brahman pravurte yam Saraswati Ramasya charitam krishnam kuruttam rishi sattama. You are going to give an epic to the whole world which will be relevant universally for all times. It will be as relevant as mountains and rivers. Therefore, it will be existing till the existence of mountains and rivers. Yavat stasyanti girayaha saritascha mahitale tavad Ramayana katha lokeshu pracharishyati. The virtues of Rama, on seeing which we have to become happy. What's that? Mudita towards punya. I am recollecting that sutra, Patanjali Sutra. First, Maitri towards Sukha, then Karuna towards Dukha, then Mudita towards Punya. Mudita towards Punya. Throughout the epic, we see the tall virtues of Sri Ramachandra, and we enjoy it. We enjoy them. Dharmatmanaha gunavataha loke ramasya mataha. Therefore, may the stream of Ramayana flow from you. May that Saraswati river flow from you to bestow the universal welfare. Brahmadeva says this, and he disappears. Valmiki sits on Darbar grass, facing the east, and then he goes into the deep meditation. Here only that shloka comes, with which we started. In the same place we conclude here. Tat sarvam yogam astitaha puraya tatra nirvruttam panu amalakam yatha. Being in yoga, being in that state, the state he has acquired now. Which state? After developing Maitri towards Sukha, after developing Karunyam towards Dukha, developing Sukha towards Punya, now he goes to Chitta Prasadanam. Being in that Chitta Prasadanam, he sees the whole epic. Not only he sees, he makes us to see the whole epic, like Ramakrishna Paramahamsa. Swami Vivekananda, Narendra asked Ramakrishna Paramahamsa, have you seen God? What's the response of Ramakrishna? My dear boy, I have seen God. Not only that, I will make you to see God. The same way Maharshi Valmiki, Tatsarvam Yogamastitaha Tatah Pashyati. Valmiki saw the events of Ramayana, then Nishama Yuddham. He also makes all of us to see the same epic. The events of Ramayana in front of us. Ramam Purastat Sthitam Achachakshe. So the whole chapter is filled with this yoga, the explanation for the sutra Maitri Mudita Karuna. That is how I see this chapter. But only one thing, explanation come earlier to the sutra. Because Patanjali came after Valmiki. So explanation is there in Ramayana. What I feel is we have to go through several chapters in the epic and see how Patanjali sutras are fitting with those chapters of Ramayana. In this available time, we had only a glimpse, and the second chapter of the epic we have enjoyed. So let us now open the Samvad. I'm very happy to have this satsang with all of you, the aspirants of yoga, yoga practitioners, and especially with us, Sri Raghuji is there and Ajayji is there. We will now have yoga Samvad. Dhanyawada.
We will now move into the Samvada mode of this evening, and we will have Sri Raghuji and Ajay.
சார் ரொம்ப சந்தோஷம் சார். I'm very moved, Ranganji, with the way you have explained the Ramayana. I'm really moved by it. Yeah, and I've always enjoyed. நான் சின்ன குழந்தையில் இருக்கும்போது, when I was very young, Sushila Achutaraman was a family friend.
Okay.
Yeah, she is my aunt's elder sister.
Mm.
So she used to come regularly and sing and in the Kada Kalakshepam.
Okay.
She used to do. So I was just taken back to
Okay.
those
Okay.
times, and
Nice.
it was very, very beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The other thing that really struck me is the way you explained this whole process is almost exactly what we tried to do in Ritambhara.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. So what we do is see the whole idea of Ritambhara, why we called it Ritambhara and so on, is actually what you have touched on today.
Okay. Okay.
There is one extremely important statement that Krishnamacharya has made, sir, where he says that a mature human being
Mm.
is somebody who can be anchored in Shantam,
Mm.
experience all the rasas in the world
Okay. Mm.
without either a block in the flow out or a residue in the flow back.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
This is his definition of a mature human being.
Okay. Very nice.
Yeah, and for us, this is such an important definition
Mm.
because the way people talk about yoga, the way people talk about all of this, they make it seem as though the entire process of yoga is to become a dry stick.
Mm.
Yeah.
Mm.
Vita ragam, vigata ragam angrada vande, they turn it into, I don't know, just an absence of all feeling. Rather than an absence of ragam, they convert it into an absence of all feeling.
Mm. Mm. Mm.
Right? And abhyasam, they convert it into asceticism and not the beauty of staying with something.
Okay. Mm.
The way you explained this, Ilya,
Mm. Mm.
unless Valmiki is rasatmik, he cannot write the Ramayana. If he gets caught with a rasa and adla mulgi, I mean, if he just drowns in it, he cannot write. He has to remain in Shantam. He has to experience the rasa and then be able to articulate it by staying with it for the whole length of the Ramayana. Yeah. So to me, that whole explanation that you gave is a complete explanation of what is yoga. Abhyasam, Vairagyam, Rasatmikam.
Very nice.
So quite beautiful, sir.
Okay. Thanks.
So next time somebody asks us what does Ritambhara stand for, I'm going to quote this only.
Okay. Okay. And where do you feel here Vairagya?
Sir, Vigata Ragam வந்து, see, for while you were describing it in the end, no, you talked about Mahat.
Mahat.
So one of the critical elements of doing yoga is to come to Shuddha Sattvam. From Shuddha Sattvam, in yoga, there is a difference between Chitta Vritti and Pratyayam.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, Pratyayam becomes possible only if I'm anchored in Mahat, only if I'm anchored in Buddhi and Shuddha Sattvam, Pratyayam becomes possible.
Okay.
Otherwise, it will be Chitta Vritti. Chitta Vritti happens because I get caught with Ragam and Dvesham rather than stay with the rasa of a reality and really deeply enjoy the rasa of a reality. I get caught with the external impact, I get pulled into and distracted from where I have to stand. I think Yoga Sutratle, it's called a Vitaraga Vishyam. In Gita, it's called Sthita Prajnan. Yeah, these are not people who are not feeling anything. No, they're full of replete with feeling, but they don't get caught with Ragam and Dvesham.
Yes.
There's a very important distinction that I'm seeing most people today who are commenting about these things. This morning I was reading a paper on Indian emotions. There they make it out as though the Shastras are talking about you becoming completely emotionless. And the difference between emotion and rasa has not been understood at all by these commentators.
Okay.
Yeah, rasa is a much more beautiful, other than Anandam. Anandam cannot happen if I don't have rasa.
Okay.
I'll only have ragam and dvesham, which is not the depth of Anandam.
Yes.
So I was I was very moved by what you said.
Thank you. Thanks a lot, Ranganji. One of the things which was coming back to me was two things. One is when in dance, when we depict his characters, my teacher always used to say the way you walk should make out the difference between Rama, Lakshmana, and Sita.
Way you walk, huh?
Way you walk, because Rama and Lakshmana both hold the bow.
Yes.
But the way you walk should show whether it's Rama or Lakshmana.
Okay.
Because we don't use Vachikam Milya. On stage, you don't say, I am Lakshmana.
Walk na nadakkarada solrீங்களா?
Nadakkiradhu.
Oh, nice.
Dance la nadakkiradhu. Because because like you said about all the other rasas, Lakshmana comes from very, he's always in track what is happening. But Rama still holds the Gambhiryam and walks. He's fully aware. He's, and the same thing I was thinking about. If you look at the Ramayana, all the other rasas other people are depicting. But Rama holds it, and from the Shantam he acts at every stage. So every episode has so much rasas. All the others are getting caught with that. But Rama takes the space of Shantam and decides what to do. So that was coming to me again and again. So how much we see. And another one was, where I listened to another scholar called Ganesh, Shatavdani Ganesh on these Ramayana, etc. And he says that, yeah. So how, Valmiki never takes any side. He just says as it is.
Yes.
For him, because he's seeing, when he talks about Ravana, it's about Ravana's expression. It is not about whether it is bad, good. He just says it as it is. So that also, I think, comes from a Shantam, that you're able to see those rasas as they are without getting caught and saying that this I like, this I don't like.
This is the absence of raga and dvesha.
Yeah. Yeah. So for me, it because we do Ramayana immersion and we keep taking these stories. For me, when you were going with that mudita, upeksha, all that, all these layers were coming up and saying that how in each of this, Rama still maintains his Shantam, his this one. Yeah. So those are two things which was again and again the imagery of that was coming.
So the only difference is when we do our work, we ask the participants to go into that inner space that you were talking about.
Okay.
That inner song, discover their own inner song. We kind of help them. Some of the participants of the last thing were here. I'm hoping they discovered their inner song. Yeah, there is a very, very beautiful Native American statement which says to discover songs of healing and love.
Okay.
And to walk the path that enables us to discover them.
Okay. Mm. Very nice.
So this was very,
For
very beautiful.
the healing and
And love.
love, yeah. To discover the songs of healing and love.
To discover the songs of healing and love for oneself, and to walk the path that enables us to discover it. So Kavyam நீங்க சொல்லும்போது, it seemed almost like a whole book that helps you to discover this deep healing. Because that is also something that is there in the Abhinavagupta's thing, no? That when you look at all of these feelings and you're able to immerse it and look at it from the rasatmik location,
Yeah.
only then healing happens. Sadharanikaranam and healing happens.
Okay. Okay.
If it doesn't, when you read the book, you get reinforced with your anger against a Ravana figure or a Shurpanaka figure, and you start taking sides, like what Ajay was saying. You start taking sides. And I think an author who starts taking sides cannot write a kavyam that can last forever. It has to come from that mahat space and
Correct. So here, Ramayana is also called as Arogyakaram, Ayushyam Arogyakaram Yashasyam.
Beautiful.
Ramayana therapy.
I think it's because these the Puranas and Itihasas are deeply healing that we read them again and again. Yeah. It's not an entertainment thing. No, it goes much beyond that into some other very, very deep space.
And that's how it comes even in Mahabharata. No? When Dharmaraja is going through pain, Ramayana is told to him, Savitri Upakhana is told to him.
Yes.
Saying that.
True.
Yeah.
Yeah, when their Vanavasam, Ramayana is told to them, no? So shall we open it out to other questions, Ajay?
Yes.
Okay. Yes, Radhakrishnan, over to you.
Yeah, thank you. Just before we open the floor for questions, we have two important announcements to make. We have Ajay, who will make, incidentally and interestingly, something about Ramayana that Ritambhara is bringing up. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah. We have two important announcements to make before the floor is open for questions from participants. Incidentally and interestingly, Ajay will be giving out the first announcement on Ramayana from Ritambhara. Please go ahead, Ajay.
Yeah, we just want to take this opportunity to share with everyone with things opening up. We are looking at moving the Ramayana exploration. Of course, online will happen, but doing the Ramayana immersion as a 5 to 6 day or a week program somewhere around the last week of March or first week of April, somewhere around that time. So hopefully Rama will see us through all the other hurdles and really come through. So looking forward to that with all your blessings. Thank you, Radhakrishna.
Yes, I have posted a link for anyone who's interested. Please note this link and copy it into your desktop or phone or whatever device that you're using. And you may use this link to express your interest, and you will get mailers and information on this. We have the second announcement, Shankar. I call upon Shankar to make this announcement on Swasthyam.
Thank you, RK. But before I make the announcement, I'm so touched. I'm so moved with Ranganji. I was transported to 50 years back, the sandy courtyard of the Hindu high school, where I've sat with my great-grandmother and listened to so many of Ramayana and Mahabharata. I was so moved, and the rendering of it, the way you said it was so sweet. It's like coming home and getting a Taratipal from a party. It was so delicious. I still savor it. I think you were like the Kavim Kavinam sitting in my heart and telling the story of Ramayana. So thank you, sir. Thank you very much. It was so beautiful and so touching. Swasthyam is a program that we are launching from Ritambhara. It is, as the word indicates, it is in the wellness of one's being that this program is for. That's why we're calling it Swasthyam. The being in its manifestation as Mano, Prana, and Vak is in the body, breath, and the mind. We help people discover the wellness of one's own being through asana, through pranayama, and mental reflections. Now, we are launching this as a course for people to work with their body, their breath, and with their mind so that they can discover the well-being, wellness in their own being that exists always. It is only rediscovering what is in them. We are launching this course in February. I think the link is there. The details will follow. And if people, we would very much welcome people and folks who are interested in all three aspects of this so that they can find the swasthyam within themselves. That's the announcement. And once again, thank you, Ranganji.
Surely a 1.5 hour program is surely not good enough for us to extract the best out of Sri Ranganji, as Raghuji already said. And there was already a request for listening to Sri Ranganji on the three philosophies of Sanatana Dharma. So at an appropriate time, we will probably have another session. Now I open the floor to questions from participants. Just to remind you all that in the chat box, we have put both the links for the Ramayana immersion and Swasthyam. You may note that.
Sitaram, this is Sundarvalli from Chicago. Namaskaram, Anna.
Namaskaram.
I just want to tell the
question
audience.
Is for Ranganji. Yeah.
It's not a question to my guru. It is thanking, it is doing namaskaram, it is educating everyone else here, saying how much we benefited from Anna Satsangam. For the last 8 to 9 years, I've been involved in Webolim. Every Saturday, Ramayanam is one book, but there's so much. Ramayanam has everything. Anna's guidance has helped us explore Rama as a role model, Rama in Navarasas, Rama for situational awareness, Rama for everything. Like we have this satsangam where we read the Ramayanam, but then every sloka, every chapter teaches you, even today in Kali Yuga, how to deal with that. And I just wanted to say we are extremely thankful to Anna for guiding us constantly in this path and taking us under his guidance. So Sitaram Anna, thank you so much.
The questions can flow in the chat box and we can either read it out or request you yourself to call out on the questions.
I'd prefer people to ask directly.
Yes, they can directly ask.
There is some,
interaction.
And we'd like
can anybody ask here also? Some 10 students are sitting here.
Yeah,
that would be
please.
Very nice, sir.
Very nice.
That would be very nice, of course.
Any question, Appa? No question, huh? Recollected in tranquility.
Sitaram, I'm Kashyap here.
Sorry?
I'm Kashyap here.
Kashyap, fine. Please tell me.
We experience Rama facing, anger when he does not find Sita hunting in the, he's looking for her in the forest. Yeah. So does the same emotion come on to Valmiki when he is writing? You said every rasa is being, it has been taken into Valmiki and he writes that. So does he also experience anger that way?
Yes. It's a very interesting question. Because here, the fourth kind of responding which Patanjali is telling, first three, Maitri, Karuna and Mudita, up to that, the second chapter matches with Patanjali. The fourth one, nicely Kashyap has brought it. Patanjali is talking about Upeksha, indifference towards evil or sin. Here, the second chapter differs from Patanjali. Here, on seeing this she-bird suffering, Valmiki becomes angry with that hunter and he curses the hunter. This is not upeksha, this is not indifference. This is something like a Kavi Bharati singing Nenju Purukudullaye. Okay, that kind of expression. How this can be a yogic element? Well, Patanjali says our mind has to be indifferent on seeing the evil. Okay, Yoga Sutra is also a great Yoga Shastra. Bhagavad Gita is also a Yoga Shastra. In Yoga Sutra, Patanjali says, be indifferent on seeing evil. Another Yoga Shastra, Bhagavad Gita, there, while Arjuna tries to be indifferent, Krishna is impelling Arjuna to wage war. See, this contradiction between two Yoga Shastras, Gita and Patanjali, how to reconcile it? How to reconcile them? Here, what I feel is, there can be anger, the expression of anger regarding Valmiki here in this Krauncha incident. Later, in Rama, while waging war with Ravana, or while he sees, while he is missing Sita, while he is in search for Sita, at that time he becomes angry. Rage of Rama is described in few places of Ramayana. But in all these places, while we decipher, while we fathom the anger of Rama, even though this anger appears to be very ferocious, we can understand that Rama is not getting bound to that anger. Without getting bound, Rama becomes angry. Here also, Valmiki is not getting bound. He has mastery towards this anger. That is why he is called as Jitakrodha. Rama is not described as Akrodha. Okay. He is Jitakrodha. And Jitakrodha is described, Jitakrodha is interpreted in some other context, in Sundarakanda, Sthanakrodha. He has a relevant anger, we can say. The anger which is relevant to the situation, Sthanakrodha. While this anger is coming, another expression, Krodham aharayamasa. It means Rama is aharayamasa. Rama is taking anger to him. It's not that he is angry. Probably we can call it as Rama is imposing anger on him. Krodham aharayamasa. All these things show the mastery over anger. Rama's mastery over anger. So, what Patanjali says, be indifferent to the evil. You can become angry, you can fight against it, all these things can happen, but all those things should not touch our core heart. It should not disturb the internal peace found in us. That kind of anger is not a disturbance to yoga. That can be done for the social justice, for the sake of dharma, but yet without that anger touching our mind, it can happen. So that kind of anger is expressed by Rama and Valmiki here in the second chapter. I hope that I have answered.
Can I just add something to this, Ranganji?
Yeah, please.
Yeah, adding to what you're saying, this is exactly what Vitaragam means. Yeah, and there is no dvesham, there is no krodham, but there is raudram. And today in psychology, they're talking about the difference between clean anger and dirty anger.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, there's a psychologist who's talking about what's the difference. And this has come up especially with reference to this recent spate of killing off of black people and all that. No, in America, there's a certain kind of, a lot of incidents have happened. So one of the psychologists who's working with this is talking about the importance of being aroused to action by these kinds of negative events. But this arousal ought not to have with it hatred and krodham. And I think this is also the message of Gandhiji. Na? When he's talking about Satya Agraha, he's talking about taking a stance. And Rama is his ideal, no? So it's not as though you have become tamasic and you just say, okay, you can come and beat me and all that. You have to draw a boundary, stand out there and say, you cannot cross this boundary. But it does not have to evoke hate. It doesn't have to evoke krodham. But I think this kind of anger, I think, is very important.
Yes.
Thank you so
Wouldn't
much,
have got independence
Rangaji.
without it, no?
Sitaram.
Sitaram?
Thank you so much, Rangaji. Sitaram.
Thank you.
I have a question. With Sita and Lakshmana walking along with Rama for 14 years through the forest and through the Vanavasam, they could be equally in yogic state. So it'll be good to know a bit about their yogic state.
Sita and Lakshmana, huh?
Yeah.
In fact, her yoga is revealed while she is in Ashoka Grove. Valmiki describes. There are several shlokas talk about her yoga only. Like Naisha Pashyati, you know that shloka. Naisha Pashyati Rakshasyaha Neman Pushpa Phaladruman Ekastha Hridaya Nunam Ramameva Anupashyati. She neither sees the fruits and plants of Ashoka Grove, Neman Pushpa Phaladruman, nor sees the Rakshasis around her with the single focus, Ekastha Hridaya Nunam. She was going on seeing only Rama. Rameti Rameti Sadaiva Buddhya Vichintya Vacha Bruvati Tameva. These are all the verses of Valmiki. Always being in Rama through her buddhi, through her manas. This is how she is in Ashokavana. Okay.
Sir,
Her yoga.
Hridayam gravati use pannile, sir.
Enna?
Hridayam. Hridaye chitta. I think that is very important, no?
Yes. Hridayam. Ekastha Hridayanunam. Ramameva Anupyati. Yes. That heart is fixed to Rama. Yes. Naraya Shloka. There are so many verses in Ramayana which express the yoga of Sita Devi.
So it's a classic example of brahmacharyam from her side when she is sitting there.
Sorry, it's getting cut.
I said it's a classic example of brahmacharyam when she is sitting there in that yogic state.
Okay. Yeah.
Any other questions from participants?
And the posture in which Sita is sitting, while Ravana comes there in front of Ravana, Achadya Udaram Urubhyam Bahubhyam cha Payotaro. This is commented, this is described by a commentator as the posture of the coiled Kundalini. Okay. When a Kaula comes, Kundalini gets coiled. While a man of Dakshina Marga comes, Kundalini expands, gets unfolded. Okay. As Ravana is a Kaula, Ravana is a Kaula. Kaula means the practitioner of Vamachara. Okay. This is not my opinion. This is one commentator's commentary. Okay. I'm just quoting it. Sita is here a coiled Kundalini. Sita is Shakti. Okay. And waiting for Sri Ramachandra to come. That's a very beautiful expression. These are all related to yoga. That's why I'm telling this.
Thank you, Ranganji. We have Anuradha Kulkarni. She's got a question. Anu, you want to ask the question?
Yeah. Like how we aim at peace and tranquility through yoga, how does one look at the rasa bhava, which is the bhava of the complete Ramayana, which you just mentioned? Because the way you mentioned, at least for me, I got to know first time that there is so much rasa into the Ramayana, which we also need to look at it in that particular way. So that was a excellent, food for thought for me. So that when I'm connecting it to yoga, I'm trying to understand how are we supposed to approach this.
Question is very generic. So I understand this question in this way: how we have to approach the fusion of yoga and Ramayana. You are asking in that sense.
Guruji, it's like how, we are trying to practice peace through yoga, tranquility of the mind, through asanas or breathing or, the other practices of yoga. In a similar way, the rasa bhava, which is coming through Ramayana, how are we to look that into the yogic practices in our daily life? How do we reach that? Is it a right question also? I'm not sure.
Yeah, it's a right question only. Yeah. So we can read the epic, the original text.
Okay.
Or we can listen to somebody who is narrating the text as it is while listening.
Yeah.
These four kinds of events can happen, as Patanjali says. Sometimes you see punya or virtues of Rama.
Yes.
Punya of all positive characters. Okay. There you develop joy. If Valmiki is describing the virtues of Rama or virtues of Sitamma, there you develop joy.
Yes.
And when he describes the sorrowful events, for example, Rama is in search of Sita, or Ayodhya people are crying while Rama is getting exiled. In all these events, our heart is getting melted. So this is karuna towards shoka. Then you also become happy by seeing the happy moods of the epic. By responding in these ways, these responses happen in a very natural way. You need not recollect again and again. So this is the shoka event, I have to become sad. You need not consciously recollect. This happens. When you listen to Ramayana, it happens as it is. But what we can do voluntarily, whenever it happens, that we can voluntarily, slowly and gently push our mind to the Shanta Rasa. Okay.
Okay.
Practice it. The two, with asanas and pranayama, it's nice that you have mentioned it. With everyday practice of asanas and pranayama, if you listen to this Ramayana story or song, or if you read it, then your heart can touch rasa in a better way. See, even in the Gita, you can understand this. In the 6th Adhyaya, he explains the whole yoga process, asana, pranayama, dharana, dhyana. All these things are explained. And he connects that yoga with bhakti in the end itself, in the end of the 6th chapter itself. And the beginning of the 7th chapter, you see how from yoga this bhakti is getting unfolded. Okay, how bhakti blossoms from that yoga. So in this way, throughout the epic, these rasas can be aswadana. These rasas. And we also should voluntarily take these rasas within, and we can make to merge these rasas in the fundamental Shanta rasa in the bed of that silence. So in this way, Ramayana can be enjoyed.
Perfect, sir. Thank you so much. Thank you.
If I can
Just
add
something. Can I just add something here,
Excellent.
Ranganji?
Yeah, sure, please.
Yeah, see what Krishnamacharya says about the specific thing is that the impact of our own dukkha is felt in our body. It's held in the body.
Mm, mm,
Yeah, Prakriti Apurnamna, there is one sutra that comes that every vasana and samskara actually impacts every paramanu in the body.
Mm.
mm,
So as you do asana and pranayama, you start releasing this locked up energy, the locked up
mm,
prana, which is in the body and in the emotional structures and things like that.
mm,
The more you release them, the more you can watch them without getting caught with them.
mm,
So in the second chapter, there's a statement that says dhyana heyaha tadvrittayaha.
mm.
Here, dhyana means to pay attention to your own mind, to your own body, to your own emotions, and so on.
Okay.
That dhyana will automatically take you not only to a shantam inside, but it'll also burn away the malam. So, dagda bijam happens through this process.
So nice, sir. Thank you. Thank you.
And
Thank
if
you.
I can add, Raghu, as a first step, Anuradha ji, in our programs, we've been trying to take certain stories and give a glimpse of these bhavams, of look at, what of these characters do they really touch me? How do they trigger me? How do I, relate to them? So we take very small portions of these stories, not like the whole epic, because then it becomes a different thing. But even this, if you take the Manishada, if you look at what each one went through and how does it connect to me, and so that itself tells us, how are we connecting to them? What bhavas are we stuck with? And so that has been our journey into this, bringing the bhava really up front.
Okay.
Yeah.
Lovely. Thank you. Thank you for all the answers. Thank you so much.
If we do not have any other further questions, may I request Dr. Ranganji to give us a Mangala Shlokam from Ramayana.
Okay, I have one quick request for Ranganji, slightly off track.
Yes, please, Shankar.
I'm hoping that one day we will get to see the English translation of Dwani Deepika.
Okay.
English translation of Dwani Deepika.
Yes. So I think it will be definitely just like Kapali Shastri did the Sanskrit translation of Aurobindo's work. We hope that you would find somebody, if not yourself, who can give the English translation so that the non-Sanskrit erudite people can actually understand and appreciate your perspective and your interpretation of all the Rigveda mantras.
Okay.
Just a request.
Lovely, Shankar. Thank you. We'll look forward to that. So if we can request you, Anna, for the Mangala Shlokam from Ramayana.
Okay. Ramo
Jai Sitaram. Thank you everyone for joining this evening. Wonderful event we had today. Really enriching. Looking forward to another one with Dr. Ranganji at an appropriate time. Thank you very much.
Namaste.
ரொம்ப நன்றி சார்.